Good evening, everyone. Welcome to 2018 D7 Toastmasters Pathways Virtual Academy. Tonight is an overview of some of the questions that I've received via email and interactions over the last couple weeks. Some of the information I have provided here hasn't been completely accurate, so here I am with my hat in my hands apologizing, and I will go over the material that I had previously mentioned and give you the new information, as we put it. But the beginning of the session, I'm once again going to cover the two-step process for level completion, because that seems to be a bit of a bugaboo. I've had one person contact me this week saying that they had received notification that they had gotten the other two parts of the AAA award that D7 is putting out, but they hadn't received the final early achiever. And it was because her level completion hadn't posted to the Toastmasters website. So the first part of the session tonight is to focus on level completion. What I have is a presentation here on screen. We are looking at a screenshot of my own educational transcript, where I'm working in presentation mastery. This is a screenshot of level 1 when I completed the level 1 projects, all 3 projects in there, which is 4 speeches and 1 evaluation assignment. As you can see, the red box is highlighting the mark complete next to level 1 completion. Once that box is, skipping those 2 pages, once you click on that box, you receive a pop-up PDF explaining the level completion process, about how to go through that and where the approval is going to go and all of the other things that happen with that. I then went back in here, and the button you can see has changed from mark complete back to launch, and then the verbiage says pending completion approval. Once the pending completion approval happened, the system sent an email to the person in our club who is on record for contact within Pathways as well as within Toastmasters International. That person at the time wasn't our VPE, although it is now. So the person who received that email sent it back to me and said, "Hey, what's this for? I've never seen this before." Well, they were the treasurer, so they weren't able to process it. Once they forwarded that email on to the VPE, my slideshow ends. Well, okay. Once it was forwarded on to the VPE was able to then go in and process the level completion, and then it showed up on my transcript as being completed. Now, the second part of that step, which is where most people are having some problem with follow-through, is the need for the Vice President of Education to go into Leadership Central on Toastmasters International. We're looking at the live shot of the web page here, and I've already logged in. Once the VPE or whichever officer is processing the awards needs to go into Club Central, and this is the exact same way you would process awards for the traditional program. Inside of Club Central, there's a box that says Submit Educational Awards. The VPE needs to click on that and then go through the process of selecting the individual member and stepping through, letting the system know that they have completed their level inside of Pathways. Many VPEs don't understand that it is a 2-step process, that you need to come into Pathways to approve the level completion so that the member can continue on. And then you need to come into Club Central on the Toastmasters International regular page and process the award as you would a traditional competent communicator or competent leadership manual. That step hasn't been happening for several members. And I received an email, like I said earlier, about someone who was anticipating receiving one of the Triple Crown pins that we're giving out. If I can put it up here. Yes, our lovely little Be Extraordinary Triple A pin. Sorry, not Triple Crown. My slip. And they hadn't received it yet. And the reason was I hadn't seen them on the reports. If you are a member and you want to know if your level has been processed, one of the ways that you can do that very easily is to go to the Toastmasters International webpage, click on Leadership Central, click on Distinguished Performance Reports, Then on the left-hand side, click the one that says Daily Reports. Then Educational Achievements for the current year. Then you need to click the drop-down arrow and select the district you're in. We're in District 7. Once that is selected, select Educational Achievements for the current year again. And this will provide you a list of absolutely everybody that has received an educational award since the beginning of the current Toastmasters year. What I do is sort them by highlighting the award button and clicking on that, and that sorts the entire column. And as you can see, the verbiage brings up the vast majority of all of the Pathways levels pop up at the top because they don't begin with C or CL or AC. And as you can see, here's the list of everyone that has received an award. If you are a member and you have not received a AAA and you have completed your level, double check with your VPE to make sure that they process that through Leadership Central on Toastmasters International. And you can also check here inside of Toastmasters International to see if you show up on this list. Now, one of the caveats is the fact that Toastmasters shut down the educational awards section for almost the entire month of December. So VPEs weren't able to process awards. But now, if we sort it by date, we reverse it, I can see a whole lot of awards that have popped in the last couple of days. And I can see there's probably a few people here that I need to send some AAA pins out to. That is the two-step process. So either Scott or Tracy, do you have questions or do you have anything you'd like to add to that process? Yes, please go ahead.
I had a question. So any member at all can see this report?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
You don't even have to log into Toastmasters International. You can access this page without even logging in.
Okay.
Yep. Good question.
And the other question is, what is the deadline for the level of completion for the Triple Crown Award?
Triple Crown, we have kicked out the deadlines to the end of the year. So we want to get everybody involved as much as possible. We're kind of tentatively playing with a deadline for early adopter as the end of March, but both the early advisor and early achiever awards are June 30th. That's so that we can continue the educational aspect of getting people enthused with Toastmasters and Pathways program, as well as I've got a bunch of these pins I'd love to mail to people. At this point, we've had 6 people that I've mailed pins to, so I know I'm waiting for the avalanche to happen. I've got my envelopes, I've got my packing tape, I've got my cat right over here. She can lick envelopes. I'm ready to go, absolutely ready to go with this.
So Tracy, you asked about triple crowns.
Yes.
Is that what you really meant? Triple crowns?
I mean AAA. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's what I meant. AAA.
Triple
Sorry.
A. The pins for just Pathways AAA.
Right.
If you are interested in Triple Crown, you can actually find that information here as well. If you go to the available reports for District 7 and click on Triple Crown, this will give you a list of who has posted all of their 3 or more educational awards for the district. And as you can see, Rosalind here is really going through Pathways. She is just flying through the different levels, doing those things up like a roto-rooter, just going through them. Absolutely. And she's learning.
I think she's the only speaker in her club.
Maybe. I'm not sure. But it's clear that she is going through it, and I can see that she's just posted as well the Pathways Mentor Program. So she has completed that as well, and that makes her the first Pathways Mentor for District 7, because that is the first award that has shown up. All right, so that is that one. Now, I want to correct 2 other pieces of information that I provided which were in error. And for that, I'm going to go back to Toastmasters and log into Pathways through the Pathways tab, access my path through Basecamp, and then log in as member. One of the pieces of information that I provided which was incorrect has to do with file size for the files that you can put in the My Documents section in your ePortfolio. I access that, sorry, let me back up, by clicking on the My Feedback tab, or you could click on My Badges tab. Once you click on that, then I click on the ePortfolio button on the white tab there, and then the big document square. This puts you inside of the My Documents for, well, inside of Pathways, essentially cloud storage. The erroneous information that I provided early on was that there was a limit on file size of 40 megs. That is incorrect. The file size limit is 20 megs. So I was double the file size, which means that probably you're not going to be able to get video files in there. But under My Documents, I was able to upload an audio file that was 17 megs. So this is, I believe, one of my speeches that ran for about 10 minutes. So I was able to get that whole thing in here. So if you are using your documents to store documents, just realize that your file size has to be limited by 20 megs as opposed to 40 megs. The other piece of information that I provided that was incorrect has to do with this level completion that I was going through. Originally, I said that I uploaded all of my evaluations to my ePortfolio so that the VPE could see that I had done my speeches, because I'm a member of 3 clubs. That way they could come in here and see the speeches and then they could approve it. Well, the documents are entirely private. From my understanding and looking through the literature that I've gotten directly from Toastmasters, no one except for yourself has access to see anything inside of your documents folder. And I've been telling people that other people could see that. Now I see Scott has his hand raised, so hang on, there might be new information. Please, Scott.
Well, I think that I started the rumor that the VPE could see it, and it was an incorrect, as you said. The
Okay.
value for the ePortfolio is that if your computer dies, crashes, you have a permanent record up on your ePortfolio that shows that those speeches were given. So that's the value. Having those evaluations on your PC is, after you request a level completion, what I would do is send an email to my VPE saying, I've requested a level completion, and then I would attach the evaluation files that I have on my PC to that email showing that I've done it. And that's usually the cleanest way to do it. But really, the ePortfolio is only there in case your electronics fails, which if you've had electronics for any amount of time, you know they will fail.
This is very true. So we now have confirmed support for the fact that the information I gave earlier was incorrect. So that the My Documents folder is only private. Yes, Tracy?
So then if you're the VPE and you want to check somebody's level completion, besides what Scott mentioned, they can't just go in here and check to see the evaluations are done?
That is correct. They cannot see the documents inside of someone else's ePortfolio. Only the user can see their own documents.
Okay.
Yes, Scott, go ahead.
But the VPE can track your progress. They can see how far you are along in your path.
Right.
But they can't see the evaluations.
Right. They can see that you have completed items in your transcript. They are marked complete, and in fact, they can see at what point you are in your transcript. Whoops, I brought up the wrong part of the transcript on that one. I keep clicking on the back door instead of the front door.
So I know some of my VPEs were concerned about, verifying level completion.
Right, right. And that was the original intent of the information that I gave, was this is how you can verify it. But apparently you can't. We have to go with email or trust. I know, trust, it's a big word. Sometimes it's a 4-letter word, but it's actually 5. We just have to go for it.
If you send the email with the evaluations attached, you've accomplished everything.
Absolutely. Once you figure out which of your multiple clubs, if you're a member of multiple clubs, which VPE you want to do that. Absolutely. Those are the two pieces of information that I provided previously that were incorrect, as well as kind of covering that level completion scenario because of recent questions that I have received. Do any of you online right now have any questions at all? I am wide open for questions at this point.
I have a question.
Go for it.
So for saving leadership roles, when you go into my account, if you've done like the counter or the any of those roles, I know that when I go in there, I see that I can put one date.
Yes.
Can we track more than one role, more than one counter, or more than one general evaluator? And then also, how do we tie those to projects when projects ask for those activities?
At this point, you can only track one, and it's whichever one you put in here yourself. And number two, it is not tied to level completion or activities in any way. So if you do the evaluator for level 1, you're not able to come in here, select speech evaluator on a particular day, and have it connect to that level 1 project. It just doesn't do that. Pretty much the only way that you can communicate that you have completed that evaluator role is the written evaluation that you can provide to your VPE. And this may be something that they'll change in the future, but I know that we can't track anything that way now.
Great, thanks. That's the only question I have right now.
Okay.
But are people asking about this? Because I have had a lot of my VPEs express some concern, since that was the whole leadership path and the whole manual before.
Right. And I know bits and pieces of the leadership path have been sprinkled throughout various paths in pathways. I am only familiar with presentation mastery right now. I just started my second path, strategic relationships, so I'm not familiar with those projects. And I know that so far, after completing 4 levels in presentation mastery, the only other role that I had to complete for a project was the level 1 evaluation. So none of the other projects within presentation mastery focused on doing any other roles. Now, granted, presentation mastery is specifically about giving presentations, so it would make sense that like innovative planning and strategic relationships would probably rely a little bit more on additional roles. And I am certainly going to find out that myself. I'm going to toss the question to Scott. Have you seen other roles pop up in other levels?
Not yet, but I think, like you, I need to actually finish a path to figure out what there is at the end. I know the first 3 levels don't really require any meeting participation, and like you, I'm just doing presentation mastery. But I suspect it's going to crop up toward the end in level 5 or maybe even somewhere in level 4, although I haven't encountered it yet.
Yeah, and I was thinking that it may pop up because I have a description of the various levels. I'm thinking that may pop up somewhere in there if I can remember exactly where I stored it. It's going to be, there it is, core competencies. Let's take a look at that. This has a breakdown of each of the levels and the projects that they're in. I always lose that button. No, yep, there it is. Okay.
I think it's there, you know.
And that's a very lovely red. There we go. There we go. Now we're getting it.
Now scroll down.
Now let's go down. Let's see. This is dynamic leadership, leadership style, communication style. I see the electives are pretty similar. Leading, leadership, mentoring. Well, that's 3 levels and nothing's popping out as far as meeting roles go.
Well, if you bring up the one that talks about projects, Maybe they might mention that it's a requirement.
Not sure if I have that one. I've got the competencies by levels.
Well, open that one and see what you see.
And that's a list of just
No,
which
there's
competencies are achieved at which level. Demonstrate, recognize, identify.
You only have those two. I have it on mine.
I probably do somewhere, but then again, I'm bouncing between computers. This is the first time that I'm actually using this computer for my Zoom sessions, because I normally use my laptop, and I have a brand new webcam, and I'm using a swing arm microphone so that I can get better visuals for doing my podcast stuff. So I'm branching out and going more technical as we go, and I got to work on this light, though. That's a little harsh. So, yeah, it very well could be. It seems, though, that my experience so far is that Pathways doesn't seem to focus on performing roles inside of the club as much as the competent leadership manual did in the traditional program, because that manual was primarily focused on that.
Yes.
Now, I know that the HPL and organizing committees have been rolled into many of the other levels, but I don't see the stress on doing evaluation roles, general evaluator, the timer, those showing up as much as we had seen in the traditional program in the CL manual. But that could always change. And very well could be they roll out another path that is specifically designed around meeting roles. You know, could be.
Now, have you experienced any issues with during the club finding it harder to encourage people to take on those roles if they're not getting recognition for them?
I haven't noticed that in the 3 clubs I'm in, but we always had trouble. We never had trouble filling the roles. We always had trouble getting people to remember to bring their competent leadership manual to fill the role to get the evaluation for it. So now we've got the people filling the roles pretty much as regular, but they're just not getting those evaluations. Go for it, Scott.
So I found my project descriptions, and let me see, try and bring it up here. Oh, okay. There you go. So I brought up my, I can't seem to get it on, there we are. I brought up my project description. In the first project, because they're listed alphabetically, I have active listening as a project.
Okay.
And it says, this project includes serving as a topics master at a club meeting.
All right.
So on that particular one, there is a meeting requirement. And so if I go down to the next one, it doesn't have one.
What is the name of that handout?
The name of it is, these are the files that are contained in the USB stick for the kits.
Okay.
And it's
I'm wondering if I can search for it inside of Pathways by the name.
It's called Project Description Reference Guide.pdf. So the first one was the one that had, nicely, it said requires a meeting role, and I'm scrolling down to see if any more do that. So far it's just Topics Master.
No, I'm just getting project descriptions for the various projects themselves as opposed to an overall.
I'll send you this file.
Well, I probably imagine it might live inside of my additional items within Pathways Guide. try other resources. We may see it here.
And here's another one. There's for a project called Evaluation and Feedback. It's required that you served as a speech evaluator.
No, I don't see it in the Pathways Guide stuff.
Okay, anyway, I'll send this to you.
Okay, good. No, that would be good to have so that I can more fully answer other people's questions like Tracy's about roles. That would be great. Okay, good. Thank you, Scott. Absolutely. So yes, Tracy, there are roles showing up in other projects.
And then we just do the projects, complete the project, click on launch and complete and all of that, and then save any evaluations we have so that we can provide that to our VPE when it's time to do our level completion.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
I mean, if you're a member of just one club, then I would imagine the VPE is going to be pretty much knowledgeable about what you're working on, especially considering they usually would be the ones scheduling you to give speeches inside that club.
My club has 3 different meetings.
Okay. Really?
So it's a little more akin to having multiple clubs.
Good. Yeah, that would work then. Absolutely. To provide copies of the evaluations to the VPE so that they know that you've completed it as you say you've completed it. Would be absolutely worthwhile. Great.
Now, I had another question if nobody else has any.
Go for it.
So, could you show us where to find the email so when we want to confirm that we have the right email for the level completion requests to go to?
Okay. Inside of Pathways, in the search box in the upper right-hand corner, start typing in club. Then your club and club number will show up, Basecamp Manager.
Okay.
From that profile and the email address that is listed there will be the email that level completions are being sent to. And this also happens to be the same email. If I go the other way you can find out what that email is to return to your Toastmasters International webpage, go to Find a Club, and then type in your zip code, select a certain range around you, and then interesting, they say that the zip code 97224 is now Ranchero Santa Rita Margarita. Well, that's the wrong state. That's California. Interesting. All right, let's try this again. Here we go. Now we're in Portland, and New Horizons is the club. So I click on New Horizons, hover over the email. In the lower left-hand corner, it says, yep, the mail is going to, and I can't get down to it, but it shows up down here when I hover over the email. It shows the same address that is the address inside of Pathways.
Okay.
Which happens to be my VPE for that club. So that's one way you can find out where the emails are being sent. Actually, 2 ways you can find out where the emails are being sent.
Perfect. I knew it was pretty straightforward.
Yeah. That's also the same way that you can find and interact with people within Pathways is through that search box, because you can type in somebody's name and access them directly, especially if you want to give them a badge or feedback or offer some information on a recent speech. You can start typing in their name. Like here, I've got our club president, so then I can click on his name, go to his feedback page, and let's say I wanted to give him feedback for something, then I would be able to type it in right here, or even give him a badge. This is where you would do that.
Now, how did they find out that they received the badge?
They find out that they have received the badge the exact same way that I found out that I received a badge, by clicking on badges inside of one of my live sessions and seeing that I had a badge right here. So in other words, there's no notification. It's simply if you log in and you look and you go, hey, there's a badge that I've never seen before. Now you can't go directly to the badge by clicking on it here. You then have to click on your feedback tab and scroll down through the feedback. In this case, it shows you where the badge is located and the person that gave it to you. So that's how you can find that information. I'm hoping at some point that they have some type of notification system so that when you receive feedback or a badge or any other type of interaction, that the system would let you know. And hopefully at some point it will.
And when you uploaded your evaluations, of course, you would go to the ePortfolio and you would see the badges. And you'd say, wait, that's more than I had last time.
Yes, absolutely. Because if you are in Pathways on a regular basis, then any change in your portfolio, any change in your profile, you would be cognizant of immediately. As opposed to if you're not in here very often, then you wouldn't necessarily know that. So, yep, absolutely. And since we're on that topic,
Janet has her hand up.
oh, sorry, go for it, Janet.
I have a question that maybe Scott will answer rather than you, because I don't know if you know the answer to it.
Cool.
But we had a VPE in Newburgh who has finished up all his Pathways duties. The email went to our VP of membership, which, she's the designated person. But I don't know how to get this so that it can be completed. And I'm supposed to be the Pathways guide. Any ideas?
You
Yes.
mean mark the level complete for the individual?
Yes.
Okay. Well,
Because
if person,
I'm not the officer there in that club for that. I'm VPE in Sherwood, but not Newburgh.
okay.
And nobody else seems to be able to get it done.
So there are 3 people in every club that have access to Basecamp Manager: the VPE, the president, and the secretary. So if the VPE is the one that's completed a level, then either the president or the secretary will need to log in as a Basecamp Manager to go through the level completion scenario.
Okay. Neither one of them know how to do it.
So then the
Yeah,
VPE should probably walk them through as kind of a co-training scenario.
Okay. I will tell him that as soon as his wife recovers a little bit more from her surgery then. And we'll see.
Okay.
I thought maybe I could get in there as the Pathways guide and give him a hand.
Scott, do you have anything else to add on that one?
Well, in response to what Janet was saying, I tried to do that in a club. Since I was the webmaster, I was club treasurer. Of course, they don't have access. So I went to the TI site and gave me another role as an officer. And then I could go in and do it. And then I sent it back to the person who was supposed to be secretary. And that's all well and good. And then when I started looking up at the roles, what I'd done is I deprived her of a full year, because when I went back and put her back in, that starts as the date I put her back in. So that's not a good idea. You're actually taking a year's worth of someone's service. Yeah, the credit.
Yeah.
So about the only thing you can do is sit down with one or all 3 of them and say, okay, let's go through this. There's an outstanding request. Let's show you 3 how to do it, and go from there.
And that, I'm sure, would be the best thing to do, because then multiple people are going to be trained to be able to handle that particular role. Because if you have a VPE that by the end of the year, they're the only one that's doing it, and if they disappear for some reason, it's a
problem.
For everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I thought about what Scott said and changing myself to one of the officers at the time, but that doesn't make any sense. It would take away from them.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So I was just trying to figure out, our club does not have access to the web. Maybe it's just going to be something that we're all going to meet at my house and we'll take care of it.
Yeah, or
I thought maybe
I know you could stop by like a Starbucks after the meeting and use their free Wi-Fi, and everybody just logs in and does completions or something.
Yeah,
Oops.
maybe that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know if it was something that Scott would have to do as our coordinator for Pathways. Then
No, no, the guides have no control over that at all. Right? It's because approvals are down at the club level, not at the guide level.
Yep.
So the recommendation is that if anybody has a laptop, or if you have a laptop and somebody has a cell phone that can be used as a hotspot, you can do that in the meeting as a show and tell. And then they can see what steps you've taken and then go home and do it. That's the only thing I could recommend.
okay,
Mhm.
all right, that's a good thing. Now I know. I also didn't see any place to approve a level completion for a Pathways guide either. You know, when I was in looking around.
Right. Yeah, because we just don't have access to that backside unless we're one of those 3 officer roles.
Yeah, we're like training people. That's our role in all this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I am gloriously ignorant when it comes to base camp manager duties.
Well, I am a base camp manager in one of my clubs, so that's how I figured out how to work my way through it.
Good.
But-
So I am going to refer everybody to you because you're a guide and you're a manager and you're Scott.
Oh, there, yeah, all 3 of those.
Well, I know I've had a hard time training people on this when I can't see their screens, where I can't see, like Janet's saying, I can't see how that's done. And then I know in some of my virtual sessions I've had managers share their screen and go through it that way so everybody could see it. And that seemed pretty helpful to me. And I think helpful to everybody else as well.
Yeah, and it would really be helpful if the guides did have base camp manager privileges to show on a Zoom screen how to do things. That would be great.
Yes.
But unless you as a guide are a VPE or president or a secretary, you can't do that.
Well, I get VPE privileges, just not for that club.
Well, that's
Right.
okay. Well, that's okay. What you can do is you can go in as base camp manager for your club to show the steps you would take to do that
Right. For
and
training.
share your screen.
Yeah.
So that would be okay.
Yeah, that would work quite well.
Well, I tried. I was really snooping around trying to figure it out, and it was just one of those things that's driving me nuts.
So in the club that you're VPE on, do you know how to approve level completions?
Actually, the only one that's had a level completion is me.
Well, when you sent your completion request, you should have been able to see it.
Yeah. I have to go in and actually update a little more because I haven't sent everything in. It was last week and I should get on it.
Well, the only thing you send in are level completions, not module completions.
Yeah, it would be my first level.
Okay.
Yeah, learning.
Yep.
So if you can see it on your screen, then you can show other people. See that green check mark? Click there.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
I'm excited. I'm ready to go.
All right.
Cool. Well, any other questions or topics to cover?
I've got another one I found.
Go for it.
So one of my VPEs had a question about contest chairs and taking on those roles in activities like contests. And before we used to put them in our CL manual. Is there any way to track that in Pathways or to help incentivize taking on those roles?
I don't think so. We'd have to go through the project list to see if there's anything in there that mentions a
marries,
contest role, but I don't think it is in there. Toastmasters has said that upcoming revisions, and there is no timeline on this, will start addressing some of those things because a lot of people wanted humor and entertainment integrated into Pathways, and it isn't really there. And the other thing that they're looking for is contest stuff. So I suspect subsequent revisions to pathways will start including things like that, but I don't believe there's anything about contests right now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at the master Q&A right now to see if there are any questions along those lines, and I don't.
Do a Control F and type in contest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and their answer is on levels 3, 4, and 5, members can look through electives to determine if speech contest or others meet assignment requirements. So they're saying try and see if you can fit it in.
That's for
And
speeches.
that's on the speech side.
And you can't really go ahead of where you're at. Like if you're on level 1, you can't really
Yeah, you can't.
do things on level 3 until you get there.
That's right.
Contest eligibility. I'm not seeing anything else. Yeah, no, they don't have anything specifically related to that right now in the Q&A.
What James is looking at right now is a compilation of all the questions that have been asked about pathways since it originally rolled out. So every time they get a question, they come back and they update this file with the question and the answer. So
Yep.
it's relevant.
Yep, just not seeing anything there. All right, well, that's a good one. Maybe in the future we'll see that. That would be a nice addition.
Just to keep giving people, incentives or more reasons than just doing it, which is a good reason. But
Right.
tying it to an achievement always helps.
Right. Yep, absolutely.
James, why are you only 74% complete on your Pathways Guide task?
That's because they keep coming in and adding stuff to the master Q&A, and it keeps removing the mark complete check mark that I put on it.
Yeah, so
So
mark it as
let's
complete.
check that again. And for some reason, it's removed the check mark under Read the Pathways Guidebook because they must have modified that again. Because
So is that what happens? They modify things?
There was a new edition that came out.
Yeah, a new edition. So, I mean, I completed everything, and I've got the mark complete. Because if I go to the final level of this, it's going to show Pathway Guide as status completed.
Yeah.
So I've completed everything. They just keep updating the information, so it's reducing my percentage rates.
It is.
What if I mark it complete now? Okay, there. See, I'm back to 100%.
There you go. All right.
Again, I think this is like the 4th or 5th time I've completed the Pathways Guide tasks in the last 3 weeks. Yep, they keep changing. Cool. All right.
Well, all the updates would be the things that they're finding and they're tweaking.
Yep. Yeah, they keep changing, switching things around, modifying, which is good. You want them to, absolutely.
2 years from now, it won't change that often.
Probably not. But then again, it may look entirely different.
Also true.
Yeah, which would be cool. Well, we are sitting at 7:48, and I need to cut this a little bit short because I have another webinar I've got to jump on right at 8 o'clock, so I want to take a few minutes so I can switch over to that. Do we have any last-minute questions or comments before wrap this whole thing up?
No, but thanks. This was a lot of great information. Thanks, James. And
Good, absolutely.
Scott as well.
Like I said, I am posting these on YouTube. So if you go to the YouTubes in the interwebs and it lets you log in, search for D7 Pathways. Actually, you can do D7 Pathways, it'll show up. And I show up as D7 Pathways Virtual Academy under the D7 web. So this has a list of all of the sessions that I've done, and there I am again, chatting in the background. So if you want to see any of the sessions that have been done since the end of October, they are all available on YouTube.
Very cool.
Great, that's a great resource. Thanks for doing that.
And these videos, I'm working with Greta Parsons now, are going to be posted, a link will be posted on the D7 website itself, so that there will be a link for Pathways YouTube videos. And I plan on putting out some other short ones that focus specifically on certain ideas and challenges that we're overcoming. So they're going to show up in all sorts of places, and in fact, it might even show up on a billboard near you sometime soon. I think. I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Well, thank you very much, three of you, being here, and everybody who watches online. Thank you very much, and I hope you have a great evening. As soon as I figure out where the stop recording button is. Thank you.